Hello, beautiful internet family. My name is Dan Davis, and I'm the creative director here at DansTube.TV. And today I've got some creative shooting tips for you while using the Osmo Mobile 6. In this video, I'll showcase some of my favorite tips from the Osmo Mobile 6, just things that I enjoy to use on this device here. And I'll show you like the tutorials as well on how to actually access these features and tips that I'm going to be talking about here. But first things first, I will say that my favorite setup is having the little tripod attached at all times. Now, this is something that comes in the package as you unbox it, but screwing that in gives you so much versatility. Obviously you have the tripod option so you can set it down, but I really love being able to actually hold it like this. So it gives you a lot more, I guess, comfort when shooting because you've got your additional hand down the base there, and it just gives you a lot more control. Like I find that to be more comfortable as opposed to me just holding with one hand. I mean, you can, and it works just as well, but this is probably my first thing that I really enjoy, and something that a lot of people should play around with. If you just leave it in the box and you don't use the tripod, it's handy to have because then you're out in the field, and especially with the Osmo Mobile 6, that you can just, pull out the extension rod, set it down on the tripod, and then you've got a full rig. Maybe you want to film some active track or whatever it may be. You're set up ready to go, and then it's just so compact, so you don't even have to worry about it intruding too much. And then you've got that nice rig there where you can hold the base as well. There's many reasons why you would buy a smartphone gimbal, but one reason that might be the big calling card for a lot of people out there is maybe you want to get into vlogging. Maybe you want to start creating some YouTube content, TikTok content, whatever it may be. Now, with a system like this, it's perfect. It's ideal for something like that. So firstly, I can double tap the switch button, and that will literally switch the orientation for me. So it can go from portrait to landscape if I want to film for YouTube or TikTok or whatever it may be. I can just do that nice and quickly with this while still having stable footage no matter what orientation I'm in. So that's the first reason why a smartphone gimbal would be perfect for you. The other thing, again, like I mentioned before, you can set up the tripod, you can extend out that rod, the extension rod, and set it up to have some different kind of content creation solutions. But then because this is just a screw down the bottom, you can screw into another larger tripod and have this set up at all times. So you can get pretty much any shot you need regardless of what it is, and it's set up at all times on a stabilizer. Something that makes this rig a little bit more special when it comes to selfie shooting is the fact that, again, when you're in that mode, when you're in that landscape mode and you're ready to capture, you can actually extend out that rod, angle the head, and then as you pull the system out like this, you can then just start automatically tracking your face. So as you switch the orientation from the rear camera to the front camera, it immediately notices that, hey, I've got a face, let's track that guy. And boom, we're straight into tracking mode immediately. That's something that makes it very easy for people because you don't have to then worry about constantly looking. Is it in focus? Is it tracking me? Like, where's the camera moving? Even if you turn around, you're getting focus and that active track at all times. So this is a great setup if you want to get into vlogging. And it makes it a lot easier when you can extend it out like on a selfie stick. You've got the base down the bottom there to really get those angles and make it comfortable. You can adjust it around, and depending on how you want the framing to look, you can change the extension rod and still have stable footage as you're just walking, talking to the camera. It's just a really natural setup and easy for vlogging options. Another thing you really need to get your head around with the Osmo Mobile 6 and other Osmo Mobile devices on the market is this trigger on the back here. Now, this is a very useful trigger, and it's something that gives you a lot of different functionality. So first things first, if you double tap it, it's going to get back to that center point, back to the default position that you want the device to be in. So if I, let's say, turn like this, angle it down, so you can see it's off to the side, quick double tap, and it will reset it right to that midpoint. So that's the first thing that is really easy to get used to and something to just keep reminding yourself of at all times. The next thing is just a single tap on the trigger. So tapping once will immediately pick up on active track of whoever is going to be in the frame. So obviously you want to set it up in a way that there's someone that you want to track, you point at them, press the button once, and it's going to track them immediately. Now you can also draw on the screen to do tracking, and when you reverse from the rear to the front camera, you also then automatically get it tracking your face. But the fact that you have that one tap to start tracking is handy to know, because again, you might not know these things, but the trigger has so much power to it. Double tap will recenter, like I can just be in whatever weird, funky position I want all the way off to here. Double tap, and there we go, straight back. And then the single tap will start tracking that subject that's in front of you. Super easy, and you can be tracking someone within a matter of a few seconds. Another really cool feature of the trigger is being able to lock the gimbal. Now, what I mean by that is basically as I'm moving and rotating my wrists and moving all different directions, you can see it's getting a little funky with it. It's moving around, having a good time. If I press and hold on the other hand, you can now see, once I've pressed and held on that trigger, I can rotate my wrist, I can move in all different funky ways, and it's still just smack bang on that center point. What I'm trying to focus in, so the subject, let's say, is a person in front of me, I want to focus on them, as opposed to me like trying to angle, oh no, the camera's off this way or move this way. What I can do is I can press and hold on that trigger, so as I'm moving towards them, even if I move a little bit around, it's still gonna keep it in the middle without any movement from the gimbal, like it's just keeping that fixed point. That's one of my favorite things to do with the Osmo Mobile 6, locking that in and then just getting the smoothest shot you can. Another really cool feature of the Osmo Mobile 6 is being able to have stable footage while you're zooming into a subject. Now, I don't know if you've tried it before, I'm sure you probably have, but when you're holding your camera or your phone and you're trying to zoom into something and you notice the footage is like all jumpy because your body moves slightly, or your hands might tremor a bit, or it might be a bit windy, so you're moving slightly, and then the footage is just unusable at that point. The amazing thing about something like this is even when you're zooming the camera system in, you can have complete stabilization, because this is stabilizing everything that you're focusing in on. So as I zoom in using that side wheel, I can zoom into a boat, for example, and as I'm zooming in, I can press and hold again that trigger on the back to really stabilize and lock it so it doesn't move too much. And now I've got full control by just pressing and holding that trigger, twisting that little knob on the side to adjust the zoom, and I can get really stable footage there. It's obviously going to be better depending on what camera system you have, and if you have a better zoom lens zoom capabilities in your camera system, it's going to be better again. This was captured on the iPhone XS Max, so still a little bit, a few years old now, but does the job. And it's still cool to see that as I'm zooming in, I can get relatively smooth footage even when I'm at like 8x zoom. The quality dips a bit, but you can get those sweet spots and really focus in on a subject while you're zooming in. The other cool thing about the Osmo Mobile 6 is that as I'm zooming in, I can get up to 3x zoom on this phone and then still be tracking a subject. So I can be zoomed in a fair bit at 3x, the quality is still nice and usable, but I can be tracking a subject while they're moving and while I'm just pressing and holding that trigger to keep that fixed point without me adjusting my body language or movement. It's just really cool. It's the whole like professional, easy setup to go with. And especially if you've got a decent phone, if you've got one of the latest phones, this setup just gets even better again. The side wheel is the latest addition to the Osmo Mobile 6. It does offer a few different options for you. You can press it in, press it like a button almost, and it goes from zooming capabilities to focusing capabilities. So I've played around with the focus a little bit. Most of the time though, on like an iPhone, for example, there's no issues with focus. Most other smartphones are fine. You do have that control though if you want to really get that sharp focus point, or you want to get that bokeh, depending on what you're trying to do. But you do have those options. I find myself using the zooming a lot more because I find it's pretty much always in focus when I'm filming. And then just getting that zoom functionality with that smooth knob is crazy. Like, it's nicely designed and really easy to use. So I find that an additional thing to get used to. It adds a new element layer to what you're doing. A lot of the time, it's going to be, for a lot of people, just consumers are going to be picking this up. The average person that goes out on a family trip, goes on a holiday, whatever it may be. So being able to just punch in on that zoom, maybe your kids are playing off somewhere and you're trying to track them with this, you just zoom in, crash zoom with that little knob, and you can focus in on what you're trying to capture and not miss any moments, which is really cool. Again, maybe you're in a sports team and you're filming a soccer game, football game, whatever it may be. Again, really nice to just be able to zoom in while you're getting that stable footage as someone scoring a goal or getting a touchdown. You know what I'm trying to say? Clearly, I don't watch much sport. But yeah, getting a touchdown, that's still probably the wrong terminology, but scoring a goal or whatever it may be, It's really cool to be able to have that functionality and to have it that smooth. Like, it just works instantly. It's really cool to see. Another thing you should really play around with and try to get used to is playing with the 4 different gimbal modes. So they're all unique and fun to play with. The first one is the follow mode. And as you can see, as I'm twisting my hand and moving around, it's following what I'm doing. That's why it's called the follow mode. If I tap across, it will now be the tilt lock. So that means I can angle down, angle up, and it's going to keep it pretty much in that like axis point. So it's still focusing on the front. It's not angling down the camera, angling up. It's pretty much there. If I angle too far down, it's going to look down. But you can see that it does lock that and keeps it a bit more smooth. So that's a really cool one. That's tilt lock. And then we can move on to the FPV mode. This is a lot of fun. It's just kind of banking around corners, getting those fast moving shots. Not ideal for everyone, but you can still press and hold to use that trigger to still kind of capture some relatively smooth stuff as you're going around a corner and you just want to lock the position as you've gone around the corner. Again, utilize that trigger on the back, get used to that because that will be your best friend. Again, double tap when you're not happy with the way it's set, and now we're back to default. I can press the M button again and we will go across to the final gimbal mode, which is spin shot. 4 gimbal modes. Spin shot is a lot of fun as well. Basically, as the name suggests, you can spin the shot. So as you can see, you can get some really cool spinning shots that do look a bit more unique. This is a bit more of a creative shot. It might be, it might not be for everyone. The average person going on holiday might not want to use spin shot, but it's just good to know that it's there if there is a cool environment where it would look cool to kind of flip around. If there's a lot going on in a scene, it's always nice to have that rotation. So again, it just depends on what you're doing. If you're filming basic things, spin shot might not be the one for you. I would recommend follow. That's the most basic. It's the default one that loads up. Follow mode is very reliable. And again, just get used to that trigger and then you can really have control over the movement of the gimbal. I also find the Active Track 5.0 to be really impressive on the Osmo Mobile 6. It's again a leap over the previous versions of the Osmo Mobile range, and it does give you a lot of control to track people from behind, where previously it might, not know what it's tracking, or if you've got long hair or a hat on, it might not recognize you or move on. It's really honing in and it knows exactly what's happening now. It can track pretty much anything. And I tracked a few boats coming by, and I found that when the camera system was side on with the boats as they were coming by and it was just basically panning with them, it just looked super smooth. And the software, like you could see as it was tracking the boat, it wasn't missing much. It was really on it. It knew exactly what it was tracking, and I could just draw that box and it would just follow it around as I was just standing there. I didn't have to move, let the gimbal do its thing. So again, play around with Active Track. It's really powerful and there's lots of options. Like you can use it with different movement pieces and things that are going on. Like you could literally draw a box around anything and then it will start tracking it. It doesn't have to be a person or a boat or whatever. You can draw on something and then that will be the focus point and what it's going to track. Anyway, that is the end of this video. These are basically my main tips for the Osmo Mobile 6, how you can get the most out of it, and just a few little things that you might not know, or maybe you knew how to use them but you didn't know the context of how to use them. This video will hopefully help you get a bit of a better understanding of how to use your Osmo Mobile 6 and some of the tutorials on how to, find where those spots are and how you can enable different things. So I hope this was helpful. I really do appreciate all the support. I will chat to you in the next video, and peace.